All right, everyone, welcome back to Bigfoot's Wilderness. I've got a new story for you today. It's called Unwanted Bigfoot. So let's go ahead and jump into the story. After graduating high school, I had a chance to go to college, but instead, I took the job. I had to. My mom was getting remarried, and she was going to move into her new husband's much nicer home, as well as newer neighborhood. My real father had died almost 5 years earlier of lung cancer. It was painful to watch, and for that reason I'll never smoke. We would sell our house, and I would effectively be homeless. Well, not exactly. My soon-to-be new dad offered me a room if I paid rent and followed his rules, to which I kindly refused. Why pay rent to him when for $100 more I could have my own place and live without restrictions? This was back in the late 80s, so wages weren't especially high, but then again, neither was rent or gas. One of my buddies and I talked about getting a place together. I figured I had about 60 days to find something else. So like I said, I took the job working for a small pest control company. They were looking for people that they could train, start them out as an assistant. The money wasn't bad, and if I applied myself, I could quite possibly move up. I really didn't know what I'd be doing, but luckily it was an OJT, or on-the-job training type of job. I was all of about 5'7" and 145 pounds. I could fit in small places others couldn't. That was definitely an advantage in this line of work. You know how you see those commercials where the serviceman is dressed real nice in a tie and simply walks around the house with a sprayer? Yeah, not exactly. Apparently, I'd be working out of a van on the road most days. There was definitely some windshield time, as they would cover almost anywhere from central to northern Alabama. We'd normally pick up tickets from the office in the morning, and sometimes would have to call in for additional tickets if we finished all of our jobs. After a month on the job, and the official beginning of summer, it seemed like every kind of critter was suddenly waking up. We kept busy, and I even got some overtime, which helped speed up the apartment search. As gross as it sounds, once you put on the mask and overalls, you just become used to the cockroaches, ants, flies, mosquitoes, and even rats. Business was routine except for one open ticket that my supervisor Jimmy and the other techs ignored. It was a potential nuisance bear situation. A lady had called in and was at her wit's end with a major pest problem, a bear. She'd called animal control in an attempt to get rid of the nuisance bear. She'd been reassured and told repeatedly that there weren't any bears near her area of town or county. Heck, the guy on the line even said he wasn't aware of any bears in Alabama, which wasn't exactly true. There have been reports of black bear, but much further south. Recent sightings in the area were closer to the Florida line in Covington County. I'd read a portion of her ticket summary and decided to give her a call with Jimmy's approval. She seemed relieved to get a response. My husband and I always like to sleep with the windows open, especially with this beautiful summer weather we're having. Last week, I think it was Thursday, when we had the downpour and everything cooled off. And as we turned in for bed, I could hear something going in and out of the bushes. And after a short while, it came right up to the side of the house by my window on my side of the bed. I thought it sounded like it was sniffing and snorting right up to my bedroom window, right up under it. I feel like it went on for a while, maybe a few minutes. My husband is almost completely deaf in his right ear, so he didn't hear much. But I pushed him, letting him know what I thought was a bear prowling outside our window. So he grabbed his shotgun and a flashlight to check. He swore after a few minutes there wasn't anything out there. So once we settled back down for bed, again I heard the sniffing and snorting. I'm pretty sure it went around the house to some of my other open windows. I tried waking up my husband again, but he wouldn't budge. So I stayed up listening as long as I could until I fell back asleep. This bear had a deep-sounding snorting sound, almost like it was having trouble breathing, like it had asthma. I don't know. I might have heard it maybe growl. But I can tell you he was big because he crushed all of my flowers and plants below some of my windows. Its feet were huge. I could see deep impressions in the mulch and dirt. It just trampled them flat. The bear seemed to stick around and had consumed quite a bit of her garden's vegetables as well. Local pets were reported missing, and according to her latest report, the bear had climbed on top of her roof, boldly walking around at all hours of the night, and apparently on more than one occasion. One evening, as she pulled into her driveway, her headlights caught eye shine on her roof. She said that the same bear immediately stood up on its back legs and seemingly ran to the edge, diving off the roof. These comments seemed pretty fantastic. I guess I could understand why no one was taking her seriously. I mentioned it to my supervisor over lunch, and he proceeded to chuckle at the whole story. I'll tell you what, since you seem all gung-ho about this lady's ticket, I've got a tranquilizer gun, but I need to make sure I have all the equipment needed, as well as the solution. Do me a favor. Call her back and we'll schedule a visit. Let her know there's a trip charge on top of the removal of the animal. 3 days later, Jimmy and I were on our way. Jimmy was a hunter, and so was I. I was good with a rifle and asked to use the tranquilizer gun. Well, I need you to be extremely careful. This isn't our usual house visit. Let's assume this is a bear like the lady says. Most likely it'll get spooked and run, probably to the nearest tree. Here's a walkie-talkie. Wait until I tell you to shoot. Understood? Yeah, I said. But what else could it be, do you think? I'm not sure, but I sure hope it's not some bum. That's why we can't shoot it until I say it's all right. If it is a person, these tranquilizers are so powerful it could do some serious damage to a person. As we pulled up, the lady and her husband were standing there, outside their house. Funny, Jimmy said. I mentioned we'd be here between 8 and 10, but how did they know we'd pull up right now? The lady, we'll call her Gail, and her husband, Joe, frantically waved us down and shouted, "It's back there, behind the house." "It is? Can you show us?" Gail hesitated and kind of stuttered with okay. Jimmy gave me a scowl. No, it's okay. You said it was back this way, ma'am?" Together, Jimmy and I approached the back area of the yard. "There!" Jimmy yelled. "Something just ran behind that tree." "What the hell was that?" As we approached, it took off again and ran deeper into the already thick woods. Maybe I was trying a little too hard to impress Jimmy, because I broke off with the gun and gave chase. I wasn't expecting it to be so big since I assumed most black bears are small, although its coat was more of a cinnamon brown than black. Maybe that little clue should have told me something. I made up a little ground in the chase before it ducked down, but it was still somewhat exposed by the bushes. I got low and crawled for a few yards and fired again. I'm usually a pretty good shot with my own rifle, but maybe I'd missed with the tranquilizer gun. I never saw it flinch, but it did run away at an alarmingly fast speed. "What a weird-looking bear," I muttered. My walkie-talkie crackled. "David, get back here! Do not give chase! Do you understand?" Too late. Roger," I responded. I'd followed it directly in, but now there wasn't any sign of it. I walked up to the last place I saw it. Not even a print, at least none that I could find. After scanning the woods for a minute, I turned to leave, but suddenly felt disoriented. The trees, everything started swirling. I stopped and bent down to take a knee. I rubbed my hair and face just to try and shake it off, but I felt a nasty headache coming on all of a sudden. Weird. I don't usually get piercing migraine headaches. Something was off. Was I being watched? I could feel it. And then, from a short distance away, I could see it. Sort of. Up ahead of me, something was approaching on 2 legs. I yelled, "Jimmy!" No, not Jimmy. This was big and wide, with broad shoulders and really long arms. It had to be the bear approaching, but it seemed to be walking on its hind legs. My eyes ached and grew blurry. As it grew closer, it slowed its pace, reaching out and touching what looked like tall trees on either side of it. It was only feet away as it went down on all fours, getting within feet of me. I remember falling backwards and landing on my back, trying to put some distance between us, but I was so disoriented that I couldn't stand up. I yelled and screamed as it approached closer. I'd swear it seemed to smile at me. With one of its long, shaggy arms, I heard it drop something next to me, and then everything went black. When I woke up, Jimmy, Gail, and Joe were all trying to help lift me to my feet. "Kid, that was really stupid," Jimmy said in his gravelly voice. "Huh? What?" "That thing was standing over you. I thought you were dead meat. If it wasn't for Gail's husband Joe firing a shotgun at that creature, things might be different right now. Hey, what's in your hand?" I was still a little disoriented, but looked down to my right hand. The darts. I was holding the tranquilizer darts. They were empty, and the needles were missing. "Where'd you get those? Did you shoot it?" "Yeah," I said. "I'm sure of it. Twice." Jimmy was a short, round guy and a good 40 years older than me. But on that day, he moved swiftly. He threw me on his back and put some distance between us and the woods. The older couple followed Jimmy out, and as he helped me into the truck, he walked over to Gail and Joe, had a private conversation with them, telling them that there was no charge and that we didn't have the resources to take down a Bigfoot. Yeah, he really said it, a Bigfoot. "I suggest you contact the authorities immediately, ma'am. Best of luck to you." Jimmy ripped up the ticket and we got out of there. On the ride home, Jimmy quizzed me, asked me what happened. I told him about the Bigfoot in my sights, firing twice, the headache, the dizziness, and I passed out. "Are you okay? Do you need a doctor?" "No, I think I'm okay. I actually feel fine now. The headache seems to be gone." "Let's keep this between us. As I see it, the old lady wasn't home. We drove all the way out there for nothing. Got it?" "Yeah. Okay, I guess." And that was it. I couldn't tell my coworkers for fear of losing my job. It was clear Jimmy wouldn't be backing me up. My roommate and buddy also worked with me, so I was pigeonholed, for lack of a better term. I remember sleepless nights. When I shut my eyes, I could see it, right in my face, smiling. Or was it grinning? Or maybe sneering? The more I thought about it, the more it distracted me. On occasion, I'd catch a TV show about mysterious monsters and the flashbacks and lack of sleep would start again. It was obvious to Jimmy that I wasn't as focused in the field anymore. I was also dead tired from lack of sleep. He recommended another position as dispatcher. I accepted, but after a few weeks, I'd lost interest and just stopped showing up for work. The holidays were approaching, and at Thanksgiving dinner with family, I'd had a few too many drinks and began to tell the story. I don't recall receiving any responses at the dinner table, just dead silence. I suppose they thought it was the alcohol talking, or they just weren't interested in Bigfoot. Oh well, nobody's perfect. My stepfather reached out to me, not really understanding the situation, but applauded me for my effort of getting a job. He and I both felt it would be best if I enrolled into college and refocused. 30 years later, and I still think about it. One thing that I questioned was when it approached me with its arms extended out to each of the tall trees. Were they actually trees? Were there more than one? Maybe after all these years my vision is more clouded, or maybe not. I could have swore one of those trees bent down.